It has been 1,200 days exactly since the release of Damn, which released on April 14th, 2017. And that kind of raises the question, where's Kendrick? Where's he been? What's he up to? Welcome to the Bar for Bar podcast, and this week I'm going to talk to you guys about Kendrick Lamar. So first off, why am I bringing up Kendrick Lamar now? Why am I disturbing this man? It's a few things. The first thing is J. Cole dropped two tracks last week, and it's kind of hard to not talk about Kendrick whenever J. Cole announces something or releases something, because they're two artists that are very similar in terms of their method of release and their content. They're both these rappers that are more lyrical and kind of in that conscious rap box. But they've also worked together, whether it be via features or J. Cole producing a track. And the other thing is, whenever J. Cole and Kendrick are in a conversation, people are like, oh, well, where's that collab album that was supposed to come out? And people have been wanting since 2013 or 2012, whenever Good Kid, Mad City came out. I believe that was 2012. And that's fine. It makes sense. But it's weird because these fans are in kind of two different camps. They're the fans of J. Cole, who just kind of know Cole's going to take his time and release whenever he wants to release. But Cole's always kind of around, though. Like, he doesn't just disappear entirely. Like, all of 2018, Cole was the feature to get on your album. And he's he's stopped his feature run, but that's kind of something that he's done throughout his career between albums. He's always got something going on where he's doing something musically. Kendrick, on the other hand, tends to not really do as much. Like, he doesn't really do as many features between albums, at least now. I think since Damn, the person that he's probably collaborated the most with is Anderson .Paak. Like, he's barely on any TDE albums. I don't think he was. Yeah, he was. No, he was on J-Rock's album. He wasn't on Schoolboy Q's album. So, like, he was on Sir's album. But, like, all these features that Kendrick brings aren't necessarily, like, the best features. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of feature Kendrick. Like, he's okay. Like, he's very middle of the road for me. It's not like feature J. Cole where he just murders every track and has, like, no regard for the main artist. But, you know, like, this kind of happens whenever J. Cole does something. Like, Kendrick is always brought up alongside him. And that also goes because they kind of came up around the same time, too. Interestingly enough, Kendrick and J. Cole don't really get brought up whenever Drake is talked about. And I think that's really just due to the slightly different genre that Drake goes for. Like, Drake definitely goes for the more pop aspect, whereas Kendrick and Cole are more into the lyrical, conscious aspect of rap. That's fine, they're just different flavors of rap. The other reason I bring it up is because I was driving this weekend and I was in a car that didn't have Bluetooth, so I had to bust out my CDs. And the only CDs I could find relatively quickly were Jay-Z's 444, Joey Badass's All American Badass, and Kendrick's Damn. So I listened to Damn because it's been a long time since I gave it a listen. And listening through it, it kind of reminded me, well, one, that it's been a long ass time since Kendrick released anything. But two, it just kind of reminded me, like, Kendrick is a really good rapper that we, for some reason, just don't bring up enough, I'd say. Like, we all know that it's been forever since Kendrick released something, but we also, I guess, are totally fine with giving him time to release his music. Like, we're just like, it's okay, Kendrick, just take your time. We know you're gonna have something great for us. But it's weird because we don't give other artists that sort of freedom. Like, we get upset if Drake goes forever without a feature or an album. Like, people go crazy. But if it's Kendrick, they're like, nah, that's cool. Take your time, bro. But, going back to listening to Damn, I was like, yeah, no, this is actually a pretty good album, even though it's not my favorite Kendrick album. Like, it's pretty low, but it's still a really good album. And that makes me excited for what we're supposed to be getting this year. Supposedly Kendrick's album is done. I don't think we're going to be getting it this year, though. Apparently it's supposed to be rock influenced, which means nothing to me because there's constant rock influences in rap. So it's like, how far into it are you going to go? Like, we'll see. Like, I'm excited for whatever he puts out. But, this brings up the other thing. Like, is whatever Kendrick puts out absolutely necessary? Like, is there still a lane for Kendrick, who tends to make these super conceptual albums, but also like albums that are very appropriate for current events and very appropriate given what he's saying, and like they kind of have lasting power. Like, you have Section 80, which is probably his least conceptual album, but it's like him kind of going through normal stuff, and like there's this whole story of everyone gathering around the fire and talking and like telling these stories. Then you go to Good Kid, Mad City, where it's just him. It's basically just one night with Kendrick, and where he gets into some shit. Let's leave it at that. And then To Pimp a Butterfly is just straight up a black excellence album, and it has songs that are still really like All Right is probably the most appropriate like protest song right now, and I'm sure it's getting played. It's weird, like, because you don't see people online posting about it. And then Damn is like, it's a bigger picture album, which kind of touches on religion and just like all these sins and things that kind of bring you down or like that you desire. So whatever we get with this next Kendrick album is going to be something high concept. But given that we don't get too many concept albums, and especially concept albums that touch on things that are bigger than the concept itself, like with Damn, like it's just, it starts out as a story of him trying to help a blind woman, and then basically he's going through flashbacks of what happened. But it's like that itself is like cool. It's a pretty big concept, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get something bigger. I mean, given what's going on, I fully expect it. The other thing with Kendrick is, other than his concept and lyrics, is I feel like Kendrick is one of those people that can really just drop whenever they want. I think we talked about this on a podcast sometime last year, but Kendrick is like, no one is, at least we kind of came to this consensus that no one's necessarily looking for Kendrick. You know what I mean? Like, we all love Kendrick and we all think that he's great, but no one is necessarily like just kind of like knocking on his door like, hey, where you at? Come out and play, bruh. Like, that's, people are pretty calm about it. Like, Kendrick's in this weird position where he has such a following that really whatever he does, he's going to get people to listen. And the fact that no one has to be like begging for him to release is just kind of weird to me. However, the other thing I wanted to touch on is that given his last few albums, I feel like Kendrick is destined for something bigger than just rap. Like, he can do all these things through rap, and I would love him for that because, like, rap to me is one of the most expressive forms of music. So, like, if he's, because like it's so much more put together in my mind. Like, there's all the metaphors and all that. So, given what's going on, it's very important to have a Kendrick album because he's gonna throw all these things at you that we can't necessarily put into our own words. Like, that's why we have the song All Right. Like, this is a song that no one really would have made except for Kendrick. Like, I can only see Kendrick making a song like this. And even like the song like, that's a song that I don't think anyone else could really make. And because Kendrick touches on so many topics, like, especially kind of like uplifting the black community, I feel like he honestly would be more well suited to have like a more of a backseat sort of thing. Like, not necessarily in the sense of like Dr. Dre, where he just goes away and just kind of does his own thing. Like, I don't expect Kendrick to necessarily be the most profitable person. Like, I don't want, like, if he becomes a billionaire, whatever, but like, I don't see that for him. Like, I feel like he's going to be the type of person who's going to just be like, these are issues and I need to talk about them because no one else is talking about them. Or let me give people a platform to talk about these things. And it's been a few months, almost 6. I don't remember when they announced it, but earlier this year, Kendrick and a few others associated with Kendrick announced PG Lang, which we still don't have a whole lot of information about. But if my thoughts on it are like, this is not necessarily a platform, but let's say a platform for people like Kendrick who want to do more than just make music, or do more than have their music just reach people and that's it. Like, they want whatever they're doing to have some sort of effect, like major effect. So whether that be through music, movies, shorts, literature, articles, essays, like, there's so many things that, like, there's so many different ways you can kind of work towards a particular goal. And if your goal is in general to be like to build a community and to help uplift other people, like, that's a great way to do it, because not everyone's going to necessarily respond to Kendrick rapping at you for an hour and a half. Like, sure, like, a lot of people will, but like I've mentioned before, like, Kendrick is the type of person who will make these songs that sound super hype, but they have a much deeper meaning. Like, I mean, I always use swimming pools as an example. Like, you're gonna use, like, if you use swimming pool, that sounds like a chill party song, but it actually has a deeper meaning to it. Like, talking about alcoholism and that whole culture of drinking to have fun. And, a lot of people at first, and I'm sure there's still a lot of people who only look at the song for the chorus. Like, there aren't as many. You're not always going to have people who are going to do like a deep dive or start to actually try to listen to lyrics. Like, that's just how things go. Like, people aren't like that. But having other outlets, like, let's say, like, with if you were to release Swimming Pools today, you can have your conglomerate also release an essay which talks about the same sort of things, or you can release a short video. And that's another thing I actually really like about Kendrick's videos. Like, a lot of times there are, like, he kind of goes into the actual meaning in them. Um, but with PG Lang, like, he can do so much more and really just deliver messages better, I think. But with that, I don't think we necessarily need Kendrick specifically to do this. It would be good, and it would really give PG Lang a boost to have Kendrick doing these things, or like be the face of it. But it's something that really should be done regardless. But I'm sure it's hard to get any sort of traction if you're not backed by someone big. Yeah, regardless, I feel like Kendrick is in that position where he can do whatever he wants, really. Like, he can sit back and release music, or he can sit back and just kind of run BG Lang and be the man behind the scenes. Anyways, it's been a long time since Kendrick released albums. And yeah, like I was mentioning, he doesn't do anything really in between his albums like Cole does. So it's understandable for people to be like, "Hey, where you at, bruh?" And I don't blame them because I'm getting impatient too. Like, it's been 1,200 days since we got a Kendrick album. Obviously, it's been less since we got a feature from him, but like I said, I'm not a huge fan of his features all the time. They're okay. They're very mid. um, but yeah, I feel like Kendrick has more to offer than just the music. He himself might only be able to express these things through music, which is totally fine, but that's why I believe he created or helped to create PG Lang. Because, people need a voice. But to all the people who, this kind of touches on the others, like stuff I've already mentioned, like, so to all the people who are upset that Kendrick isn't saying anything or putting anything out regarding what's going on with police brutality and the government, you have to remember that Kendrick's one of those guys that are super quiet. Like, as far as his own words. Like, he doesn't really say much. He doesn't really do any interviews. Like, he's a very quiet and to himself guy. Except for when the music is out. When the music comes, he lets his music speak for him. So, I'm not surprised that he hasn't said anything. Like, I'm not surprised that he's gone to the protests. Like, he's at the protests. Like, chill. Like, he's there. He's helping. But like, it just keeps coming back to the thing that Dave Chappelle said. Like, why are you looking to celebrities? Like, the streets is talking. So, like, I don't blame him for not saying anything. I don't expect him to say anything. Because I know whenever we get his album, he's going to say a lot of things. Like, a lot. And as far as latest news goes, like, people are saying that the album's done and is ready to be released. I don't think we're going to get it, though. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to get it either at the very end of the year, like around November, or we will just get it next year when things start to clear up a little bit. I mean, given the current situation with the quarantine, I don't think it would really, like, I mean, for most artists, like, at most artists are probably holding off on releasing their albums because they want to tour and generate more sales and money that way. And I get it. But I feel like artists like Kendrick can release an album whenever and not tour and still do perfectly fine. Because you're going to have people who stream the hell out of the album like me. And then you're also going to have people who buy merch also like me. Like, you're going to do just fine. Obviously, if you were on tour, you do much better. Because Kendrick is going to go on a stadium tour for sure. Like, he can't not go on a stadium tour. I mean, that's what the Damn tour was. Like, he's going to do just fine whether or not he tours. And honestly, I don't think money is a concern for him. He strikes me as the type of person who really just wants to put the music out there, like, once it's ready, and doesn't really care how well it does. Like, I'm sure Interscope and Top Dog want him to do well, so he has that a little bit of pressure, but Kendrick as a person, I don't think he cares at all. Like, whenever you see Kendrick, he looks like he's just wearing regular ass clothes. He doesn't wear no chains or nothing. Like, he's very low key, I'd say. But yeah, I don't think I think his album's gonna get pushed back because the label wants him to go on tour with that album. And that makes sense. And that's probably why a lot of other rappers haven't put out albums. I mean, I would be surprised if we get a major album release sometime this year. Like, and I mean major as in, like, rappers Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole level down to artists that sell out medium-sized venues. So, like, I wouldn't really necessarily expect anyone from Dreamville or TDE to really release a project. Like, I can see the underground and more independent rappers doing it because I don't know how well they do on tour. Like, they do have a good amount of a following. Like, let's say Open Mike Eagle, for example. Like, he can release an album and probably still be okay because his tours don't necessarily sell out. They do in some locations. And also depends on who he's touring with. But, I mean, I can say, like, when I saw him on tour, it was a fairly small venue. And, I mean, it was pretty open. Like, I was right up front, and the next person, like, next group next to me was, like, a good amount away. Like, they're at least an arm's length away from me, so it's not, like, a cramped space. Whereas, look at the Earth Gang show, like, everyone was, like, tight in there, and it was a bigger venue. So I don't expect people like Earth Gang or anyone else on Dreamville or TDE to really release anything. But I fully expect smaller artists to do so. That said, I mean, Reason's probably going to be the only one from TDE that drops an album. Because he's been doing it. He's been making his own music. And even Isaiah Rashad would probably do it. But, you know, I don't expect a Kendrick album. I think everyone's kind of come to that same conclusion. Like, Kendrick will release when he's ready. And I don't know, like, Kendrick, it's weird. Like, Kendrick is one of those artists that I really like and I really want more music from. But I also understand if he decides to just not put anything out and go the PJ Lang route. I guess we'll see, though. I mean, there's still, 4 months left in the year? Well, just about 4 months. Well, actually, I guess 5 months. I don't know. I can't do math. It's basically August. Like I said, I think the only time we'll actually get a Kendrick release, if we get one this year, would be around November. Because I'm sure this is going to be a more politically focused album, and it's probably appropriate to release it in November because elections. Or right before it, maybe late October. That actually makes sense because if you're voting by mail, you want to give at least 2 weeks. So yeah, mid October, maybe. Anyways, I think I've talked in circles enough. Basically the conclusion that I've reached is I don't know where Kendrick is, but I want a Kendrick album. But I fully understand if he waits and focuses on PG Lang instead. Because I feel like that's actually a platform that can be really good. Like, if he opens it up to more creatives and people who are for the same sort of ideas that they've been pushing so far, like, it's going to be great. I just need something to happen with it. Because it's been like 6 months, I think. I don't know when it was announced, but still, like, it's been so long. Like, let us have something. Anyways, let me know in the comments below whether or not you expect a Kendrick album, if you even care if Kendrick releases an album. Because I honestly feel like a lot of people just kind of don't care at this point. Also, let me know what your thoughts on the rest of the stuff I said. Like, if we have rappers who are going to release music or not. Because that's actually something I'm going to talk about next week. Anyways, with all that said, make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more content and videos like this, where I just talk at you for random amounts of time. Anyways, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and stay safe out there.